lengthen the working tube, and hug the right part of the additional tube in the rope technique. Now, here is the next armored pole. It is where we join an additional tube in the same technique. Place it beneath. We have to entwine the left half of the tube added. Hug it rope style. Then we hug the armored pole, and you have to untwist it necessarily. Don't forget about it. Now hug the right half of the additional tube. You see the bottom is getting square-shaped thanks to our untwisting the reinforced poles. Pass on to the last armored pole with no additional tubes adjoined yet. Here I'm going to lengthen the tube like this and adjoin the last of the 4 additional tubes. Once again, let's look at the way our rope goes. Here it is. We are going to entwine with it. Here we've got an additional pole. Entwine it. It's rather hard at first, further it will be going automatically. Don't forget to untwist the armored pole, it's necessary. I've lengthened the tube in the wrong point, right where I have to untwist it, but because we weave very tight, it's not going to be seen. And the right part of the tube added is to be entwined with the rope as well. That's all, we've finished the first row. Let's pass on to the next row. We've started entwining the poles here, so it is where the row starts. We have to mark it. Then, Maria recommends entwining 2 rows. But my tubes are thicker in diameter, so I've tried entwining 3 rows. I did try entwining 2 rows, but then it occurred to me that in my case entwining 3 rows with rope is better. I bought this idea experimentally. I will share the link to Maria's tutorial. It's up to you to choose which way you like better. The tutorial is never dogmatic. I believe you have to adjust everything to your own tubes, the shape of your breeze, and so on. So, experimentally, I personally concluded that in my case it's perfect to weave 3 rows more without joining any additional tubes. In the first row, I do untwist each armored pole. In our case, it is every 3rd pole. Here is the enforced tube. I untwist it. Continue. Then there come 2 common tubes with no wire inside. Then every 3-4 rows there will be getting more and more of them. 2 regular poles. 1, 2. And twist the tube with wire. 2 common tubes. Again, we reach the beginning of the row. You have to mark the beginning point somehow to avoid losing it. Help yourself to shape the square with your fingers. It was the first row after we had joined additional tubes. As for the second row, I weave it without untwisting the reinforced tubes. Why? Because otherwise the corners would protrude too much. So, of the 3 rows, I weave the first one with untwisting, the second one with no untwisting, and the third one with untwisting again. I do like the shape I get as a result in this case most of all. That's why I've decided to step out of line. A closing clip is sure to prevent us from missing the beginning of the row. It seems to be time to lengthen the working tube. For weaving this very bottom, I've taken rather long tubes on purpose to avoid too much lengthening. Here we've reached the beginning of the row again. We've woven 2 rows after adding the tubes. In the third row we do untwist the reinforced tubes again. These 2 tubes are common with no wire inside, so we hug them in the common way, and the third one is to be untwisted by turning around it. 2 tubes are to be hugged in the regular way, and the third one is untwisted. The tube is too red, I have to be careful with it. This tube is the one reinforced, turn around it. Make sure that the tubes of the base remain directed in the same direction in order to shape the square. You can even cut a paper square and try it on from time to time. So, after having added the tubes, we've woven 1 row with untwisted reinforced tubes, the second one without, and the third one with untwisted tubes again, and we've reached the beginning of the row. Let's start joining more tubes. Now it's going to be easier because the intervals between the tubes are bigger now. Let's repeat once again how we do it. We've reached the first pole with a piece of wire inside, adjoin the additional dry tube, then hug the left end of the tube added, the central tube, don't forget to turn around it, and the right end. So the left half, then turn around the reinforced one, and there is still the right half left. It's better seen than in the first row. It was more difficult in the first row. Then hug 2 common poles with a rope. Reach the next armored pole. So you weave for a while, then shape with your fingers. You shape the square not with the weaving technique only, but with the fingers as well. So let's go through this circle once again. I've woven 3 rows. Let me repeat once again that it's up to you to choose. I personally prefer adding the tubes in every 4th row, but you may prefer doing in every 3rd one. It depends on the intervals between your tubes. So, the first diagonal pole, adjoin an additional dry tube, hug the left end of it in the technique of rope, and twist the diagonal pole, and hug the right end of the tube added. Tighten the tubes with your fingers. Continue weaving. Now entwine the common tubes, as many as we have them. 1, 2, 3, 4 poles between the diagonal ones already. Reach the next diagonal pole. Add the tube. We're just repeating the process once again. Hug the left end of the added tube with a rope, and twist the diagonal tube. Lengthen the working tube where necessary. And there is still the right end of the edit tube left. Hug it with rope as well, tightening the tubes, and entwine the following common poles. These poles used to be added at some point, now we are using them as common tubes already. Reach the next diagonal pole and repeat the same movements once again. I believe it must be quite clear that it's not my first square bottom woven in this technique. My first attempt was a failure. I'm saying it for the beginners to prevent them from panic in case they fail at first. My first attempt is rare successful. Those who succeed from the first time are lucky. In my case, I have tried weaving this type of bottom quite a few times. For the first time I've tried, failed, forgotten about it for a while. Sometime later I've tried coping with it once again. So reach the next diagonal. I'm repeating for those who don't succeed from the first time, just like me. The left hand, turn round the diagonal pole. I call this row the row of additional tubes. We've reached the end of the row. Now I weave 3 rows more without any additional tubes. In the first row with no additional tubes, I turn the working tube round the diagonal tubes, in the second row I don't, and in the third one I do again. Let me tell you a few words on where I apply this type of bottom. Baskets like these, for example, I've woven them with the help of Lego construction set, used as a base. You can make them bigger or smaller, any size you need. You don't need any pieces of cardboard in this case. You weave a basket as a whole. As for the handles, you can find the tutorials on how to make such decorative handles for baskets at our site as well. And a couple more words before I finish. How to make corners more clearly expressed. For this purpose, I adjoin additional poles in the corners and fix them with the help of such skewers for barbecue. I take them out afterwards, but while weaving they are very helpful for shaping the corners. So I do recommend you such a square bottom. Having practiced a little, you can learn to weave a rectangular bottom based on the same technique, on the same principle. You just have to make some additional calculations and add some more additional poles, like we do while weaving rectangular bottoms, and don't forget to untwist the corner tubes. In this case you get a bottom rectangular. I've mentioned how I make corners clearly expressed. I'm often asked how to make direct corners. I believe we will get back to this question in some separate tutorial. So far I'd like to thank the author of the idea once again. It is her idea and her tutorial that has interested and inspired me and made me shoot the tutorial. So thanks a lot to Maria, good luck to everyone, enjoy your progress.